Okay, so professors, there you have it. The solution is set here. So we'll read the question and then we'll look at how you record it. So I have set up my Cairo, as you see here, the debit side and the credit side, right? Okay. So on the first, we have started business with 8,000 cash. As you all agree, this is a receipt, right? So it will be at the debit side. You record it at the debit side. You put in the date 1st May 2018. This is capital, right? Because the owner is starting business. And we'll put it under the cash column, 8,000. We go to the next one. Received a loan from Philip, 700 check. So this is another receipt. So it will be at the debit side. You come into your Cashbook, the debit side, 2nd May 2018. The details will be a loan. You received a loan. You can add the name of the person who gave the loan or simply put the loan. And the amount involved was 700. Sorry, this should be under the bank because the transaction was through the check. Then on the 5th, we have bought goods with cash from Dominic. So we are buying goods and we are paying cash. So this is a payment. So this should come to the credit side, 5th May 2018. If you buy goods, that is purchases. So purchases. And we did the transaction with cash. So it will go under the cash column, 800. On the 10th, bought motor van, 2,500 cash. We are buying a motor van, right? So that will be another payment. 10th May 2018. Then the details is motor van. And this transaction was also in cash, so we put it under the cash column, 2,500. Professors, I hope I have not confused you. Then we have 15 sold goods for check. Sold goods for check. Sold goods for check. So we are selling goods. We are receiving check. So that will be a receipt. So we have 15th May 2018 at the debit column. That will be sales, right? And it should be under the bank column. Okay, I think there's something in the chat. Let me check on that. Augustine says, okay, so Augustine is asking us, get into the double and tray column. In our exercise book, do we turn them horizontally so that we get space? Yes, it is permitted. When you do it, you see your exercise book is in a portrait form, right? So if it's not, the columns are not going to fit, you can turn it into the landscape form. Yes, it's allowed. Yes, that was a good point there. So it's allowed for you to turn it so that you can have enough space to put in there. Any further questions? Any further questions, professors? Okay, so Let's deal with the last transaction. That was on the 20th. Deposited cash of 500 into bank. Now, I want to explore more on this transaction. So let me ask professors. You are depositing cash into bank, right? What will be the double entry? Which account would you debit and which account would you credit? Ignore the Cashbook discussion. And let's go back to the old days when we do our debit and credit, right? The double entry. So if you deposit cash into bank, which account would you debit? Which account would you credit? Having said that, let me guide you by doing this. For the first May transaction, right? If you were doing your old ledger account, you would have debited cash, you credit capital. Okay, so the debit is what we have shown in our Cashbook, right? By debiting the cash account. Now, the second one, receive the loan from Philip. The traditional way, when we went straight into the ledger account, you would have debited bank and credited loan. So again, we debited bank in the Cashbook, right? The corresponding entry will be a credit in the loan account. But the focus is we are preparing the Cashbook. That's why you don't see the corresponding entries. Then fifth, bought goods with cash from Dominic. That would have been debit purchases, credit cash. And then bought motor van, 2,500 cash. That again would have been debit motor van, credit cash. So I'm asking for the 20th transaction. Deposited cash of 500 Ghana cedi into bank. You debit who and credit who? Okay, Portia is ready, but Portia, hold on. Okay, I have Austin. Let me hear from Austin. I think this will be his first. Austin. You debit bank and you credit cash. Do we agree, Portia and Augustine? Do we agree?
Sir, please, can you come again?
He said debit bank and credit cash, and I'm asking if you agree.
Yes, please.
Okay.
I agree.
Yes, sir.
Good. So that is it. You debit bank and you credit cash, right? Because here bank is receiving, and I have indicated to you that with cash and bank, when you are receiving, you debit, and when you are paying, you credit. So technically, cash is making payment into bank. That's why we are crediting cash and we debit the bank. So look at how this how this is recorded in the cash book. Okay, and if you pay attention, you see that both the cash and bank account are in this same book. So both the debit and the credit will be seen in this book. So let's do it. We need to debit bank. So we come to the debit side. We put the date there, which is 20th May 2018. We are debiting bank in the name of cash, right? Because cash gave the money to bank. So under the bank column, we put the amount there, 500. Then we go to the credit side. We have to credit who? Cash. So the same day, 20th May 2018, the details will be bank, right? And then the amount will go under the cash. So you see, we have credited cash, we have debited bank. Interestingly, both the debit and credit are affecting the same ledger, which is the cash book. Now, if that happens, then we say there is a contra entry. Okay, there is a contra entry. Okay, I think there are a few questions here. Okay, so somebody is asking Austin, and he says, "Sir, please, I've always wanted to ask, as we move forward and mature, do we balance off account without us being told as a norm?" Okay, for the purposes of exams, you only pay attention to the requirement of the question, right? So if the requirement of the question is one that you need to balance off the account, yes, you have to. If the question does not say balance off or doesn't tell you to extract a trial balance for which you will need to balance off, please don't stress yourself. So the question will always, the requirement of the question tells you what to do. Okay. Yeah, Augustine, you had a question?
Yeah, sir, please. I didn't get what you said.
When you say you don't get what I said, I've said a lot of things, so be specific.
Says please, sorry, and the contra
Okay,
entry.
the contra entry. Okay. So a contra entry simply means that both the debit entry and credit entry are appearing in the same ledger or account. Okay. That's both the debit and credit are appearing in the same account or ledger. So a typical example is what we just did here, right? Both the cash and bank account are in the cash book, which is a ledger, and we are debiting bank and crediting cash. So you can see that both the debit and credit are appearing in the same ledger. And for that matter, it is a contra entry. Okay. So to show that it's a contra entry, this is how we demonstrate that. In the detail column, you show a C in a parenthesis, or what they say, a bracket like this. So you do same for the cash, you do same for the bank under the details. You always have to show this to demonstrate that it's a contra entry. Both the debit and credit are in the same ledger. Okay. So that was the bit I was talking about it. So in preparing the cash book, most of the contra entries you do would happen when you are depositing cash into bank or you are withdrawing cash from bank. So pay attention to that. Is any further question? Okay, so we can put down this to define the contra entry, right? So a contra entry is an accounting entry that it's an entry that involves recording both debit and credits in the same ledger or account. In the same ledger or account. And most of the times, it is so because the net effect is zero on the ledger or the account. Because as you realize here in this cash book, you have 500 at the debit and a corresponding 500 at the credit. They cancel each other out. So contra entries, in effect, leads to a zero effect on the ledger or the account because they cancel each other. Okay. Yeah, so Augustine, I think I've answered the question. They don't affect the the balances on the ledger or whatever because they cancel each other. But so the question is, why do we record it if it will not have any? In accounting, we don't only record transactions because we think they will have effect on the financial position. Okay. We record transactions because we have to record them because they are business transactions. So even though a contra entry or a transaction that brings about contra entries will significantly not impact the financial position of the business, you need to show it, because then if you don't record it, you are omitting some of the transactions that is not good for auditing and accountability purposes. So contra entries do not only happen in the cash book. They can happen in the sales ledger. They can happen in the purchases ledger, or even the general ledger. Okay, yeah. So they can happen anywhere. But how do you know it's a contra entry? You know it's a contra entry because both the debit and credit are affecting the same ledger. And for that matter, it will cancel each other out. Okay. Okay, Portia, you have a question. Let me get to that question.
Okay. Say, please, what if they ask a question like cash sales deposited in the bank? So I want to ask, which account should we debit in? Like, which account should we open? Is it the cash account, sales account, or the bank account?
Okay, so when you see that transaction, cash sales immediately deposited into the bank. Okay, don't stress yourself. What it simply means is that you sold goods and the money is in the bank account. So straight away you debit your bank and you credit your sales. Okay. Some people go through the long chain of, okay, it was a cash sales, so they debit cash and credit sales. Then they now come back to come and credit cash and debit bank. Please save yourself that stress. Anytime you see sales, cash sales deposited into the bank, what it means is that it's between your sales and your bank, right? So don't stress yourself in going through that long chain. Okay. So I think we can move on. So let's look at how you balance your cash book, because you also need to balance your cash book. And professors, pay attention. You have to do the balancing column by column. So you first take the cash column and balance it exclusively from the bank column. Okay, so let's look at that. So you know how to balance account. You get total on each side. So we are focusing on the cash for now. So for the cash, I think we have 8,000 here at the debit, and here will just be around 3,850, right? So it means your carry down will be at this side. Please put in the carry downs before you bring in the total. So your balance carry down, and as you know, the date for the balance carry down is the closing date. So that will be 31st May 2018. So for the cash, the carry down will be 8,000 minus, please, my professors with calculators. Please, let's get the difference for the carry down. So we have 8,000 minus 3,850. That will be 4,150. So that's for the cash column, right? Then you do same for the bank column and get the total, the carry down. So for the bank, the debit side, we have 700 plus 1,000, that's 1,700 plus 500, that's 2,200. And this side is 0, so the carry down will be 2,200. Then you can now put in the totals. 2,200 here, and the cash will be 8,000. 8,000 and 2,200. Then you can now bring the brought down, okay, which will be the first of, from May we go to June 2018, balance brought down. You have 4,150 for cash and 2,200 for bank. And that's it. Now let me also speak about the balancing. In preparing your cash book, the cash would always have a debit balance, but your bank can assume a credit balance. And you know that is what we refer to as bank overdraft. Okay, so it's possible that when you are balancing the bank, your carry down will be at the debit, or you would have a credit balance. If it happens, you are not wrong. That's a bank overdraft. But if your cash shows a credit balance, it means there's an issue. You have to check your cash book again. Okay. So that is the 2-column cash book. If our time will permit us, let's look at the 3-column cash book. And then maybe I'll drop one question in the page for you to at least play with. Okay, so there we have it, the 3-column cash, the question for the 3. Let me separate the solution. Please, if you have any question pending, we're looking at the 3-column cash, you can ask so that we can deal with it. Or maybe adding the 3-column will be too much for my professors. If so, then I think we can just retrieve the point about the single and the 2-column. And maybe you try your hands on a few questions there before we look at the 3-column. Do I have the consensus with what I'm seeing? Question, professors, and do you agree with what I just said, that probably we should hold on with the 3-column while we play with the single column and the 2-column? Okay, I think no responses, so let's quickly see if we can finish up the class with the 3-column. So the following was extracted from CBRED for January 2017. So first, the balance of cash, and then on the same 1st January, you have bank overdraft. Professors, when you see any balance at the beginning of the period, that's an opening balance. Your balance brought down, right? Okay. So there's that possibility that when you are preparing your cash book, you may have to deal with this balance brought down at the beginning of the period. Now, if you go and say sold goods on credit to Kwame, sold goods on credit, this one will not come here, right? Because it has no business in the cash book. This will go to the sales journal, right? It's a credit sale. We have received check from Mensa. Okay. Kwame paid his account in full by check. So who is Kwame? Kwame was somebody we sold to on credit. He's now making payment. Sold goods for cash. We have paid cash into the bank. Cash purchases. paid due by check, less 10% discount. So I think you are seeing the discount appearing. The more reason why we have to prepare the 3-column cash book. Okay, so let me set it up here so we can prepare this 3-column cash book. Or maybe we should compare the solutions so professors can follow. Okay. So you're struggling with the question that our colleague asked, right? So sometimes when you go portrait, it doesn't fit. You have to go landscape. And I know you would be encountering such issues. So as when they come up, try and okay. But I think you can see now. So you have the date details, and please look at where we are putting the discount allowed. The discount allowed should be at the debit side before the cash and bank column. And then you have date details, and then the discount received is on the cash, on the credit side. Now, why do we put the discount allowed at the debit side? Because the debit side is the receipt side, right? And you receive money from your debtors. It is at the point when you are receiving money from your debtors, you can allow them a discount. Okay. The same way you can only receive a discount when you are making payment. It is when you are paying your supplier that your supplier can allow you a discount, which is discount received. Okay, so that's why they are put at. If you get confused, professor, discount allowed is an expense. So it only makes sense that it's at the debit side because expenses have debit balances, right? And discount received is a gain or an income to some extent, right? An income has a credit balance. That's why it's on the credit side. But the technical reason why the discount allowed is at the debit side is because you only allow discount when you are receiving money from your debtors. And in the cash book, the receipts are done at the debit side. Okay. So the first thing we have to record here is the opening balance. I don't know if professors are comfortable with this in there while I explain, or we should wrap everything off. And I think because of our time, let's make do with it. So in recording the first thing, which is the opening balance, look at how we do it. So you have open your cash book. Please remember the title of the cash book here at the top, right? Cash book. And you don't need to label it 3-column or whatever, just write cash book. It's the format that determines. So we are told balance on cash 24,000. And we know cash would always have a debit balance. So at the debit side, show the date 1st January. The details will be balance brought down because there's a balance of cash. You put it at the cash column. 24,000. Now, the second one is also under balance, right? But it's a bank overdraft. Professor said bank overdraft should be at the credit side, right? So on the 1st of January at the credit side, you can indicate the overdraft there. Okay, overdraft like that. You put the amount at the bank column. Then you move on to the next one. That it says sold goods on credit to Kwame. This one will not appear here. So we'll go to the second one. Received a check from Mensa, 18,000. So if you are receiving, you debit your card 2nd January. Mensa, you debit your bank. Then we are told Kwame paid his account in full by check, 33,600. Okay. Okay. Now pay attention here. Kwame was a debtor who owed us 36,000. And we are being told he paid his account in full by check, 33,600. Professors, this simply tells you that there is a discount in there because the person owed you 36 and you are accepting a full payment for 33,600. So what it means is that we have allowed a discount, right, on the 8th of January. So these were monies we received from Kwame. So that is a debit, right? So on the 8th, you see Kwame here, right? We received 33,600, but we need to show that we allowed a discount. That's the difference between how much he owed and how much he is settling, which is saying 2,400. So that 2,400 is a discount allowed. Okay, so I'm alerting you. It's not always the case that they will say, oh, less discount 10%. When you see full payment, then compare and see whether there was a reduction or whatsoever. Okay, good. Please, any question on this one? Okay, let me move on. I think the time is spent. So we have sold goods for cash on the 10th. If you are selling goods and you are saving cash, you debit that in your cash book. So 10th sales 15,000. Then we have paid cash into the bank. So we are paying cash into the bank. We debit bank and credit cash. And you see that contra entry being showed here on the 12th, right? Okay. Cash purchases. We are making purchases with cash. So we credit the cash book. On the 12th again, purchases 3,000 under cash. Now 13th, paid Jude by check 10,000 less 10% discount. So we are making a payment. So you record this at the credit side, 13th, Jude. But we are being told there's a discount. And 10% of 10,000 is how much? 1,000. So you show that 1,000 as a discount received. If you were to pay 10,000 and you are allowed a 10%, it means that subsequently or consequently you paid 9,000. So always the discount should reduce the figure. Okay, so we paid you by check 10,000 less 10% discount. So technically it means that this 10,000 we have to less the 1,000. So we paid him 9,000 and the discount should be shown. So you see that it is, look at how we show it in the cash book. You show it on the same line, right? So you put a discount there and then the net amount there. Okay. You have paid wages by check. No issue with credit our cash book. You have paid Tony by cash, 9,000 less 20% discount. Okay, so here another percentage. You multiply the 20% and that'll be 1,800. So you see, you show that 1,800 discount and then the net amount under the cash column because the transaction was in cash. So that is how you record the discount, or that's how you show the discount in the cash. Okay, so again, when you are done, you balance off again with your cash and cash, with your carry downs, bank and bank. For the discount columns, you don't put any carry down there, you just put the totals under the column and that's all. Okay. Professors, any question? Then we'll solve more illustrations, especially on the 2-column and 3-column, because these are the highly examinable ones. Hardly do you see the single column in exams, but for the double and triple, we have past questions on that. So we'll solve a few questions around that area. Any question? I have 2 minutes to wrap up. Any question, professors? Okay, so I think all that I need my professors to appreciate is that the Cashbook is used to record cash and bank transactions. You debit or receipts, you credit or payment. But watch out for either you have to prepare the 2-column or 3-column, depending on what the question is given. And we have established that if the question is giving only transactions in cash, you open single column. Only transactions with check, you open single column. When you see both cash and check, you look at the double column. If again you see cash and check, but there are discounts in there, you look at the triple column. Okay, so I think we'll pause here. We'll continue hopefully next time with more illustrations, but I'll give you one question to just play with and submit for marking by close of the day. If there are no questions or comments, I think we'll call it a wrap. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye.
Bye.